It's been a while. I used to be on radio a lot, but
Did you?
it's been a minute.
Well,
So that's why I was like, I'm not nervous. I just have to like get back to that version of myself, you know?
I love it. Well, welcome to the Kelly Patrick Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's episode, I am joined by Wendy Higdon. Wendy will be running for office as a Libertarian soon, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Wendy, I appreciate you coming on the show. If it's all right, could you introduce yourself to the Kelly Patrick Show audience, please?
Yes. So like you said, my name is Wendy. I am 41. I got asked by the Libertarian Party to run for the state Senate seat in the 37th district. And that encompasses most of Southwest Jefferson County, so kind of south of the Waterson and west of 65, and it's most of that area.
Okay. David Yates previously held the position.
David Yates previously held it, and
Could you put this a little closer to your mouth there? Sorry, I'm a stick card for the audio.
Yes.
Thank you. There we go.
Okay.
So David Yates previously held the position.
He did, and he had already expressed interest in becoming the county clerk for Jefferson County in 2026. And so when Bobby Holzclaw passed away, he was just, I guess, the easiest, most natural, choice to be the interim person until the next election. So, so then that creates a special election for our district. And there was almost literally about a week to get everything in, all the paperwork in order to be able to run. And for a Libertarian, that is not as easy as the other two primary parties. So,
what do you mean by that?
Well, actually, election law in Kentucky has been like this for a long time. But basically, and it depends on the level of race, but this level of race at the state level, I had to have 100 valid registered voters in my district sign paperwork for me that said that I was their neighbor, legitimate, whatever, and convince them to sign on my behalf. The Republicans and the Democrats only have to have 2 signatures.
Oh my goodness.
And until the Libertarian Party kind of brought it up, it could be 2 people in the same household.
Oh, really?
So it could have been like him and his wife, like you don't actually have to have many signatures, basically.
So a lot more regulation on the third parties.
Yes. And I know third parties are always like, oh, they're against us, but it's almost literally factual.
Not just on the federal level.
Not just on the federal level, yeah. And then for something like a federal election, they have to have 5,000 signatures. And then every one of those is gone through meticulously. We actually had 160 signatures, and then they counted like 110 of them. So they really meticulously go through. If somebody misses an I or dots a T wrong, whatever, it's thrown out. So it was a little difficult, but we did it. And now I'm officially on the ballot, and there's a choice in this election, which is great.
So there will be a Republican, a Democrat, and a Libertarian.
Okay. Yep.
If we were to back up a little bit, who is Wendy Higdon? What could you tell me about yourself?
Sorry.
That's okay.
You said introduce yourself.
That's okay.
That's
okay. And that's all right.
Okay.
I can get distracted with all that stuff too, but where did you grow up at?
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a long story. Okay, most of my life I lived in Louisville though. So from like 6 to 14, I lived in Louisville. And then I moved back when I was like 20, maybe.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since. So I have lived the majority of my life in Louisville. And I do feel like I grew up in Louisville. I grew up on the east end of Louisville. My parents were kind of entrepreneur type people. We had a couple of restaurants. My dad owned and managed like sports teams. So it was always interesting, something happening, ideas. My dad was an idea guy, so I kind of have that like spirit about me.
Okay.
Just, kind of thinking about stuff and observing.
Clearly, if you're wanting to just kind of almost last minute jump into a state race.
A state Senate race, yeah, that's a pretty high.
I would say that's a go-getter or open to new ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then I went to high school in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Graduated. I didn't go to college until I was like 35,
Okay.
for real. You know, everybody kind of goes to college after high school, but, you know,
You
like,
did. Sure.
I went, but just for like a semester, and then was like, what am I doing? You know, like,
What type of work did you do?
so I worked in the restaurants with my parents.
Okay.
And then when we had one up in the Oxmoor Mall, in the food court, and that was the one I primarily worked at. And we closed that in like 2006 because the food court was closing. So anybody who lives in Louisville or has for a long time, that's like that's where we were most of the time.
Okay.
But so they closed in 2006, and I kind of just worked at every sandwich place out there after that.
Okay.
And then I became a GM of a pretty big chain, and then, you know, I ran the Tea Party.
That's right. So how did you get into the political world, other than you picking up the entrepreneurial go-getter type?
Honestly, that's what it was.
Okay.
Because I was trying to start like a wedding planning business. Like, I'm
Okay.
really good at like events and like organizing, planning things, reaching out, making contacts, you know. So I was trying to make a wedding planning business where it was like the day of planner. Anyways, I had this whole thing. We went to like wedding shows, and I didn't get a single client.
Okay.
So it was like 2008. So it was during like, you know, kind of financial crisis stuff. Yeah. So, and then the Tea Party became a thing. Honestly, right? Because Rick Santorum did the thing on Wall Street floor. And then they had around like in February, but there wasn't a whole lot of them. This is 2009. And I saw the ones in February, and they were like, we're doing a nationwide push for this on tax day. And I had my own, you know, like my dad's real political, and, you know, we talk about stuff over the dinner table, like, you know, like most people do. So I just, you know, I have like beliefs and feelings, even though I was registered Democrat. But I did believe in the taxed enough already. Where is our money going? What are we doing? You know, like the foreign wars were happening. 9/11 had happened, the Patriot Act had happened. So I was like, you know what? I'm really good at planning events. That's what I just wanted to do. Like, maybe this is a way to like kind of do both things, right?
Sure.
So I literally just like put out, I don't even know, like a Facebook post or something, you know? And people started answering, and we had the first Tea Party in Louisville on tax day 2009, and I ended up being like the head of it, and then I became the president of the Tea Party, and then, you know, it just trickled down from there. I had no idea what I was doing.
You were a registered Democrat, but you were sympathetic to the idea of taxation being too much.
Yeah.
The taxation was too much.
Yeah. And I was only like 24. But I did have a lot of feelings about like being a lower class worker, you know, like, and literally like 30% of your paycheck gets taken. Where is that money going? Social Security is probably not going to be there at the end. You know, we're paying for all these things. You know, and then the breakdown of like after that, you've got the state on there, you've got the city on there. If you're in a specific region of the city, they could add on. You know, like J-Town has their own tax. Like, I was just like, what are we really doing? And that was when I started like researching, you know, finding out my own opinions on things. But it was really because I was good at planning events. And that was what I wanted to do.
Okay. So after the Tea Party, have you had political action since then?
Not really. So I did the Tea Party from like 2009 to 2013. I did run for office in that time.
What office did you run for?
I ran for State House in the 42nd District. I lived in Old Louisville at the time. And that was a really weird district, like very gerrymandered. So it was part of the West End, and it kind of stretched all the way across to like Frankfurt Avenue.
Interesting.
So it was a weird district. But the guy that was the incumbent had been the incumbent and never been run against. So he had been unopposed for like 6 terms. And I don't know, I was just like, I just thought that was dumb. Like I was like, what? There's not even a choice out there? Nobody would run a Republican against him. So I was like, well, I'm a Democrat. I could run him in the primary. Why not? And I just I just did it.
Was that a good experience?
It was a pretty good experience. And I do recall, well, one, I never saw him on the campaign trail. And I thought that was like pretty, like significant. That he had an opponent that was out there going to all these community events. And, I was like putting myself out there. I was knocking on doors, I was doing the whole thing, right? And I never met the man one time. I never saw him. And that to me was like a pretty big deal. And I remember a lot of people coming up to me at the events and stuff and being like, you're actually her? And I was like, yes, I'm actually me. This is me.
We're not used to that.
I'm not, I'm just like a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe very firmly in the things that I believe in. And then, like if you're, I don't know, I just feel like, if you're strong about your convictions, that's what you should go on,
Sure. When I interview MMA fighters, for those of you who are listening who don't know, I do the commentary for HR MMA. Right now it's in Bowling Green 2 times a year and Shepherdsville 2 times a year. I've been doing it for many years. But when I interview fighters, I ask them questions like, would you like to talk trash about your opponent? I like to phrase it in a polite way.
Right.
I don't want to sound like, hey, I'm not the one talking trash. But if you feel that you would like to, do you have anything you'd like to say about your opponents in this race, in this Kentucky Senate race?
Obviously, I don't know either of them. This is a very sudden race. I do know that the Republican ran last time against David Gates. So that was where they just ran the same opponent against him, basically. But the things coming out in the press about him have been very concerning.
I've seen a couple of those. I was curious.
So it's not necessarily that I would want to trash talk anybody, because like I said, I don't know them. I don't know, and like we're in a cancel culture in the media, so this was several years ago. But I don't think some of the things that were, put out in the media based on his blog posts is the type of person that you would want to represent you in the state.
Sure.
That's how I would feel. And it was a lot of like derogatory comments towards women and, things like that. And then the other guy, the Democrat, his name is Gary Clemens.
Okay.
And I think he is like a union rep, is like a steel worker, is president of the union there.
Okay.
Has like a military background. It is a Democratic district, so I assume that he will probably win, which is okay. But I believe firmly in giving people a choice. And that is why I'm in this race. So I definitely joined because I believe in ballot access for the third parties. I firmly believe in free, equal, fair elections, and just letting people have an actual voice. There are more than 2 sides of the political spectrum. And I would have 8, 9, 12 parties if we could, really. And then we're, do it like other countries. If you get down to the last 2, the top 2, then they run against each other.
Sure.
But I don't know, we're just in a hole.
So I opened it up for some questions from my libertarian group that I'm in. One of the libertarian positions could be a criticism of like JCPS, for example, the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that's almost when running for office in Jefferson County.
Yes,
that's probably
a huge deal.
That's a big topic.
Yeah,
right?
It's a big topic for me as a parent.
Well, okay. What do you mean by that? Tell me. I'm a libertarian. Tell me what you're running as a libertarian. Let me read the question correctly.
Okay.
How will dissolving JCPS empower parents to have better educational outcomes for their children?
I believe you said absolving, right? I believe that absolving JCPS.
I'm sorry, dissolving.
Yeah, okay.
Dissolving.
Well, either way. Okay.
Absolving.
Would give us better outcomes, because it's almost like if there's too many people and there's not enough background people, And we have a very top-heavy administrative side in JCPS.
I've seen stats about that, how there's so many teachers in each school, but then there's like all these administrators who
Yes,
make, $100,000 a year
Yes.
too. I mean, it seems like a very inefficient system. You
It's
look at how
very
much money goes
inefficient.
toward each student. The
yes.
results we get seem to be declining on a steady basis.
Absolutely. Yes. So I believe that it would give us not only just a better grasp on like our regions. The regions of Louisville are very different, economically, socially, whatever. Breaking it down into more like a neighborhood group. I believe that 100,000 students is too many to be in one school district. And actually the numbers declined this year because people agree, right? Their kids are being left behind. If your kid needs anything extra or special, they're being left behind.
So the numbers are going down. You mean more kids,
I
more
believe
people are homeschooling?
More people are
or private
homeschooling, private schooling, moving outside of Jefferson County. I know several people who have, because we're living on the south side of Louisville, and they're moving to Mount Washington or Bullitt County.
Sure, I've heard that a lot.
Right?
Yes.
Instead of staying inside the lines.
And a lot of homeschooling.
Yes, lots of homeschooling going on.
But you think it will help to have better outcomes for the children who are in Jefferson County, specifically in your district, if it's more on a local level and they're able to come together as a community and JCPS isn't in charge of it?
Yes, and I also think, because we have a school board of 7 representatives in Jefferson County. So this is 7 representatives, one for the entire county, 100,000 students, 177 schools, I think.
Okay.
But we have a metro council of 26 people. So it just doesn't seem like the representation is there. There's no transparency from the board to the parent level. We have 300 vacancies in teacher staffing right now. And they're saying they're gonna cut that $132 million back from the budget, without affecting students in any way. And I don't know how you can cut $130 million without affecting students in any way, unless you're top heavy, paying things that we're not supposed to be, right? Like we're not putting that money into our actual buildings, facilities, kids, after programs, things that are actually for the children.
You said you do have children.
I do have kids. I have foster kids.
Okay.
I did adopt one this year, so I guess I do have kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, dealing with
your experience with school with them has been.
Yeah, it's been really difficult. It's been really difficult in the aspect of just bureaucratic red tape, having to, almost none of these schools are equipped to deal kind of with the behaviors, the trauma, the level of need that these kids need. There are very few special education schools that are options. And I have this conversation with so many people and they're like, oh, what about this school? Or what about this school? I'm like, yeah, that one is only for physical disabilities. This one is only for, and there literally almost is no options for my kids. And I know they're in a special circumstance a little bit, but they're not. There's thousands of foster kids out here.
I could get going from a libertarian perspective, asking you about the foster care program.
Oh my gosh,
that would be
I could
random
have a
direction.
TED talk on that for hours.
I'm sure. Okay, another question I have is to ask her about property taxes and the driver's license fiasco.
The driver? Oh,
I guess maybe
like with the real ID.
and those types of things. My wife tells me as long as we have our passport, we don't need the real ID.
That's true. Yes.
Do you have thoughts on real ID?
Yes, I refused to get real ID until just recently. I literally just got mine in the mail a couple weeks ago. Because
it's probably for a reason.
Well, I wanted to fly to see my mom.
In Wisconsin?
And she lives in Florida. But she, she's getting sick. I was like, oh God, what if something happens and I have to get there quick?
Sure.
So I ended up getting it. But I don't know, just the idea of this kind of national ID program just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know, just as a libertarian, there was no need really in my eyes, to transition from one to the other. But yeah, and then to make it where you could only do it at certain spots. So, they put like one thing in every county, or not even every county, there were only a few around the state that you could go do it at first. They finally opened it up to all DMVs, but honestly, I think a lot of the extra bureaucratic stuff, the oversight,
The more red tape,
overreach, the more red tape, the worse we are. The more time it's going to take, the more, I had to order a birth certificate from Alaska to come in order for me to even do it. And other states aren't doing that. Like Kentucky is going like above and beyond the actual requirements of this real ID. So to me, it's just a way to get more money, have more oversight, have more overreach. But that's just my opinion.
I had another question that says, ask about with price inflation, of course, the Federal Reserve keeps printing so much money, the value of our dollar goes down every year. Would eliminating property taxes, how do you think in maybe your district, eliminating property taxes to help to allow homeowners to free up some money? What do you think of that?
Obviously I'm in favor of lower taxes. Obviously, I think we are taxed too much already.
But eliminating property taxes
altogether might be too much.
So you're running on maybe a minarchist platform.
Sure.
I'll take it.
Sure.
I'll take it.
And I do know that the state the last few years, and the plan is to make it zero income tax for the whole state. So that is the plan, and the point was to keep more money in everybody's pocket. So I do appreciate the Republican leadership for taking that ball down the road, because that's amazing. And as far as the property taxes go, I do have strong feelings about entities like JCPS and MSD being able to raise those property taxes just on their own. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to ask public opinion. They don't have to have forums. They can just do it by up to 4% every year.
Wow.
And that was one of the big issues when I was with the Tea Party that we were really fighting against. Because literally, so you have this board of 7 people for the whole county, and no public input. They wouldn't even put it, so we would show up to the meeting to the JCPS board meetings with all of our Tea Party people.
They probably loved it.
And I'm sure they loved it.
I'm sure they're like,
but
hey.
Every year that they have to vote on whether they were going to raise the property taxes by 3.9 whatever percent, because
maximum
they do it up to 4% every year.
Magically do that every year.
Every year. So every year we can show up and kind of speak against it, but it's raised every year by almost 4%. And again, we're not getting any outcomes out of that, right? And everybody is paying that tax, whether you have a kid or not. Everybody is paying for the system, and we're not getting good community back out of it.
We are in Kentucky. I'm going to ask you, I guess it could be a controversial question. What do you think of Andy Beshear as a presidential candidate?
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interest, because you can take that from different perspectives. Am I a big fan of Andy Beshear? No. However, you can make a case that if I were a fan of the Democrat Party, you could see where maybe he would be a good choice. Yes, I do agree. I see where they're coming from. He handles himself pretty well. I don't think he has that much dirt on him. Comparing him to Gavin Newsom, for example.
Yeah, he's working with a totally Republican legislature.
Sure.
So it's a Democrat in the state of Kentucky.
He does seem to say the right thing. I think he was on Bill Maher the other day.
Yes,
that's on. Relatively pretty good job.
Yeah, I think. He's good. Yeah, he knows how to talk for sure. I don't know. I don't think he's awful, right? He at least, like you said, gives a good presence, doesn't embarrass himself. And that can't be said for a lot of politicians.
Sure, it's wild what the bar is these days.
So, at least he's a mature person.
Fumbling over simple questions.
Yeah.
You ask someone a real controversial question. I've watched people not do well with a lot of, you would think that, especially at that level, if they're trying to run for president, they'd be prepared for different types of questions. And I'd say Gavin Newsom even, or Pete Buttigieg, There's been times where to me they look very silly.
Yeah. But what comes to my mind when I think about Andy Bashir is the COVID times, right? The executive orders, the church things, the daily, sometimes 3 or 4 times daily briefings.
Yeah.
With the death toll and the numbers, and oh my gosh, was that like, it just made me it just made me sick every day. Like, there's so much to be said about that. But when I think about Andy Bashir, I try to remember that time, because to me, that was so much overreach, so much government overreach.
COVID was.
Yes, and Andy Bashir was just lock in step with it.
He was the champion.
He was the champion of it. You're right. Yes.
Or in New York or whatever.
Yeah. So I just try to remember that even though now today he is working with a completely Republican legislature and everything. Yes.
Majority Senate.
Yeah. So it seems to be that everybody can kumbaya and go about it, but in reality, he went lock in step with the COVID lockdowns and the business shutdowns and the personal property set. It was just, that time was a lot for, somebody like me who has strong beliefs about, just like personal liberty.
And with him and his father and their involvement in the history with the teachers' unions in the state of Kentucky, you could see where maybe a libertarian candidate versus, and Andy Bashir, they probably don't seem like they necessarily go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think he's a bad guy.
Okay.
I guess.
I'm happy you're saying that in a way. You know what I mean? Like, if you're running in Louisville and you come out and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be the most radical libertarian. I'm going to be the anarchist on every topic. I may agree with you on some,
Yeah.
But I don't know how that's going to do for protecting our ballot access. Those types of things.
Yeah, no, we're kind of like the central people in my, like I feel like I'm a moderate most of the time when I'm having discussions with people, or like my dad's totally conservative and my brother's totally liberal, right? Okay. And I feel like I am the moderate of the group, right? Like, there is solutions for some of these huge problems for us that are in the middle, right? And we've let this like this Republican Democrat duopoly just create a sense of that you have to pick one side. Mm. And I think if most of us just paused for a second and really thought about like our beliefs and our neighbors and the people we work with, and that, and we're all thinking differently, that most of us would be in this moderate area if we were allowed to be. Right, I think we're not really allowed to be, or they try to push us. They try to push us.
The Republicans hate the Democrats and vice versa.
Yes,
and that's what that's what they want. And when I say they, I think like the most powerful, the federal government, things like that.
Yeah, so I'm like, most of these issues, there is a central solution that we could all kind of get, pieces of, and that's how government and politics used to work. And we've just, we can talk about the downfall of society, I guess, too, for days.
Sure.
Like media bias and journalism and all, we've just created this culture that, like, you hide behind a screen and you're 100% one way or the other, and that's just not reality.
When Zoran Mondani and Cuomo and the other guy, not Eric Adams, but the Republican, are running for mayor in New York City, they've been asking him questions about foreign policy. Mm-hmm. You seen this? Mm-hmm. They've asked, like, Zoran Mondani, are you going to visit Israel? And he's like, no, I'm going to stay in New York City. So it's just like taking a local race that doesn't have anything to do with foreign policy and asking foreign policy questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any thoughts on foreign policy? As a political candidate, do you have anything? You mentioned 9/11 earlier. You mentioned the Patriot Act. It's not relevant probably to the Louisville race, I guess, for the sake of this.
Really, it's not really. And the federal government has definitely got their hands way further than it was ever intended to be.
Okay.
So I do believe that, states' rights is a big deal. That most of the things that were not in the Constitution were meant to be left to the state. So honestly, I have always told people that I believe that the local elections are way more important than the federal elections. Because they're not really supposed to, even though I understand that the federal elections have become, what is affecting us, right? Yeah.
People care about and they get
and we get all into it, but in reality, the law, we just did the laws about like kids having cell phones, right? That affected a lot of people, or kids getting their driver's license at 15. Oh, I actually really I probably would have voted for that, even though it is,
relative.
Maybe overreach.
You could say it's authoritarian.
You could say it's authoritarian.
Is it good for the kids?
But
probably, yeah.
Having teenagers, having teens in my home, and it's an addiction.
Sure. Yeah.
And just not dealing with life, relationships, stuff like that. These kids are very far behind socially from where I think we were in my generation. Because we had to talk to each other, we had to work with each other, we had to, and now it's almost like they're just incapable, and again, the society thing where we kind of like bunch up in the people that we agree with, and then there's nothing else outside of that. But the cell phones, I don't know, it's very distracting, right? They're very distracting.
Sure. And
having like parents in contact with kids 24/7, feeling like as a parent you have to be in contact with your kid 24/7, it's just not sustainable. But as far as school goes, for sure, I think that would, at least it gave the schools the opportunity, right? So the school didn't necessarily have to, and they could implement it in the way that they wanted to. So that was written in the laws.
Oh, is that
yes,
okay.
That the school could implement this, how they saw fit or whatever.
I have 2 kids currently in JCPS high schools, and they both schools have enforced it.
Yeah.
And I like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. And
because the alternative is one of my daughters was at Central for a while, and she said everybody had their phone out all class, not even looking at the teacher. So that obviously sounds right.
Yes. Yeah. There's no. My teenage girl, really couldn't write when she came. She was 12 or 13. It's sad. It's sad times out there. She has no idea, where we are relative geographically to anywhere else in the world, or, now she does. But, when she came to us, it was just like,
Was she a product of JCPS?
Oh my God, is this how it is out there?
Was she from Louisville?
She's not from Louisville. She's from Western Kentucky.
Okay.
And then she came to Louisville and went into one of the worst middle schools that we have. And actually that's part of the JCPS problem too, because some of the schools have 125% of their capacity.
I've heard that. There was an article the other day.
Yeah, and then there's other schools that are not even close to being at capacity, and it's it's because there's all these magnets and choices and blah blah blah. I don't know. We've gotten away from kind of the neighborhood option, and people have to pick and choose. When you get clusters and you get whatever. So obviously nobody wants to go to a crappy school, but that seems to be the one that gets the most kids just shoved into it.
So with your father being more of a conservative, has he advised you on this campaign?
No. Not really.
I'm curious what a conservative would say about running as a libertarian.
We have had discussions about, the only thing that we really have discussions about is Donald Trump. Because he is full on,
Big time
big pro Donald Trump guy. I wouldn't say that I'm not, but there's a diplomacy and a decorum that I think you have to have. And I don't know that he necessarily has that as well.
What? I haven't seen any of this.
Donald
Trump. Are we talking about this?
But that's kind of part of the problem too, right? We've just become so I don't know, not considerate of anything else besides whatever you're doing. I don't know. But
I think running for office in Louisville, you not being a big fan of Donald Trump is probably a good thing, right?
Probably.
Across the board. If you're running as a third party, I think that's not.
Well, and I'm like, I really like Rand Paul most of the time.
Okay.
I really like Thomas Massey most of the time.
Sure.
I mean, you're not gonna agree with everybody 100% of the time, ever. I don't agree with my husband 100% of the time. But, you know, I'm like talking to my dad, and I was like, Dad, as a man, you would not go to Rand Paul and be like, hey man, we have this plan and you're not behind it. And I really need you to get behind it, right? And instead he's on social media just being like this weenie, wimpy, blah, blah, you know, like it's just not professional. It's not professional in any way. It's not a good look for anybody
Is
in
your dad
any way.
not a big fan of Thomas Massey?
No, he's not really. Yeah.
My dad isn't either. My dad isn't either, and also a big Trump supporter. So
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah, you got to get behind the program. I mean,
You gotta be
we're
on the
playing
team.
the game. Yeah, we're playing the game. You got to be on the team. And I'm like, Dad, like, what happened to free liberty, like free speech and thought, and you know, like it's okay to ask questions and you know, question the motives, of, you know, like
Or
whatever,
vote
how
against
we're
something.
doing
Yeah.
it, or you know, whatever. Yeah, we've just gotten way out of control on the, you know, pushing it both ways spectrum.
In 2016, during the Republican primary debates, the Republican debates for president, Trump was going against Rand Paul, and I think Trump said something like some Indo-Pacific agreement, or I don't even know what it was. And then Rand Paul goes, excuse me, we're not actually a member of that. Or no, he goes, China's not a member of that. China's not in that. And everybody's like, oh, and it looked like Rand Paul had won.
Yeah.
Like he knew what he was talking. He clearly is a doctor.
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah.
he reads books and stuff.
Yeah, he knows.
Then Trump does. He was right. But then Trump goes, Rand Paul is polling at 1% right now, and everybody booed Rand Paul.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So it's clearly just
Yep.
a shit talking.
Spite. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a trash talking popularity contest
Yes.
where substance isn't really even important.
No, truth doesn't matter.
I guess
Facts don't
not,
matter. Yeah. So, and I was like, Dad, I mean, really, like, as a man, he was like, well, you know, I guess I would have done that, but
Instead
I
of
still,
taunting
you know,
him on-
yeah, instead of taunting him on social media.
I think those attack ads are funny. on Thomas Massey, there's I'm going to bed or watching a YouTube video with my wife, and there's a commercial, but she knows I love Thomas Massey. It's probably annoying to her.
Yeah.
I love Thomas Massey. I get it. And then we see a commercial, and it comes on, and it's like, Thomas Massey supports burning the American flag. And Thomas Massey teams up with the squad, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, and Ilhan Omar. And it was even worse than I'm making it sound. It was just the most extreme attack ad. I think it's kind of funny because obviously Thomas Massey's saying...
He's saying something that's getting under his skin, right?
Yeah. He's clearly saying he's voting the way that he truly feels.
Which he always does.
Consistently
right?
does.
Always. Yeah.
He votes against 4 and 8 every time.
Every time.
Yes. And you know, the burning the flag thing, I mean, technically it should not be illegal to burn the flag. That's been a long, what do you think? That's
interesting.
Yeah.
Man.
Because if you buy it and it's your property, should you be able to burn the U.S. flag? You can see where that's
publicly or on your own private property.
Okay, on your own private property.
Oh,
okay.
see, this is a different thing. Yeah, I mean, if you're making a demonstration out in the public,
Sure, you're burning it on the courthouse steps.
Yeah, maybe that's different,
I
right?
can see that. That's putting those in danger.
But you know, throwing it in your fire pit because you feel a type of way, and it's gonna let whatever demons you got out. You know, why not? I don't know. Not to be disrespectful to the flag.
Sure.
Obviously. That's, you know.
I would argue that the people who fought to protect our country and those types of things kind of protected our right for free speech to say dumb things, to do dumb things. And that, you know, if you want to do something, I don't want to burn an American flag.
No, I don't,
Yeah, and I don't think Thomas Massey wants to burn an American flag either.
No.
I think that there was just something where it came up one time. And he was
And he
actually
was
saying,
like,
no, technically you should be able to.
Yeah.
And it just didn't sound good, so then someone else went with something else.
That's interesting.
Yes. So Wendy, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
What's the next step? Tell us about the details for this race.
Okay, so the next steps is we got on the ballot, so that was a big deal. And
And that
then,
was kind of spearheaded by the local libertarian.
by the
team.
local libertarian team, yeah.
Shout out to
really,
Libertarian Party of Kentucky, Libertarian Party of Louisville.
Yes.
Okay.
And I haven't been in politics really since the Tea Party, so that was 2014. And he was, Ken is with the Libertarian Party of Kentucky.
Ken Moore.
And yes, and I knew him from before because I would invite all candidates to like our events. And even though only one Democrat ever showed up, but there was one Democrat that showed up one time. But Ken would show up, the Libertarians would show up and the Republicans would show up. So I knew him from before, and he just texted me one night and was like, hey, I was going through the rolls of libertarians in this district, and I'll be damned, you're on it. And I was
So
like,
you were a registered libertarian.
I'm a registered libertarian.
Since the days of the Tea Party.
Since the days of the Tea Party, yeah. I ran as a Democrat, and then there was an attack ad that Mitch McConnell did against Matt Bevin that had me in it as like a liberal Democrat. And that was when I was like, oh, okay, I got it. So that was when I changed my party affiliation. But the next steps are, just like talking to people, getting out there. We've already been door knocking. We've already had to be door knocking because we had to get the signatures, right?
110 signatures isn't maybe as easy as it sounds.
No, it's not. People don't want to answer their door. And then when they do answer their door, they're like, who are you? Like this isn't my Amazon delivery, or my DoorDash.
Oh, I can see. I can imagine. I'm like, hey, I'm Kelly. Listen to this. Libertarian. Are you familiar with what libertarian?
Right, yeah. And then you're not a part of the major party, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know, because we're usually blamed for stealing votes from one side or the other.
Yeah, no, I can see where, I talk to people about libertarian ideas all the time, and it doesn't always go over the best.
Yeah.
So I can see where, for the general public, they may be skeptical. That may not be the easiest.
Yeah. So we did do that, and that's really a win in and of itself, just to have representation on a ballot of this kind, like a short-term special election where you have to get it done, and we did it. I'm really proud of us for that. So website is up, Wendy4, KY.com, and then we'll I think there's a debate being talked about.
Ooh, I want to see you.
And so I've already,
so the wild stuff. I'll tune in for that.
So I already said I would do that. And I might not be the most professional or sounding person, but I'm just going to be myself. And I live in the district. I've lived in the district for a long time. And I'm just going to go do what
I love it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ken Molman for contacting you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're just gonna keep rolling and probably fundraise first. That'll be a big thing.
If someone's
to get us out
listening
there.
and they're interested in possibly contributing to
Yeah.
the campaign, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can do that on the website. It'll be up, I think tonight. We're working on that. So we created a bank account this week, finally got all our paperwork back, and then there's all kinds of processes and stuff that you have to do. But that should be up and running tonight.
Okay.
And literally anything helps. $1, $2, $5, whatever. Anything helps. If you believe in liberty, freedom, having choice, ballot access, that anybody should be able to run for office if they want to, I'm a person.
You said you thought there should be not just 3 parties on a ballot. In a perfect world, you would think maybe even more, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 candidates from different parties.
I think, just personally, I know that we're going to get into like a skew, and then the vote's going to be split so many ways or whatever. But like, we have so many personalities, right? All of us have something that we're into, that we're passionate about, that we feel strongly about. Like, there's no way, like, it does not make rational sense in my mind that we only have 2 choices.
And they both are
for the most important job in the country. And consistently, none of them are great.
Sure.
Right? None of them are like, oh, yes, this is you're always like, I just don't like the other guy worse, right? Like, it's never good. It's always a choice between 2 evils, and there should be no evil in this process. So I do kind of strongly believe in just, I mean, there's so many, there's a Constitution Party, Green Party, you know, Libertarian, obviously Libertarian. There's all kinds of parties out there because there are so many different beliefs. And we are a country of mold, right? We are a country that came together like a melting pot.
A bunch of individuals, in theory, is what we should be.
With two options.
Yes.
I mean, we have a million options in the grocery store. I could go to 50 different doctors and get opinions for whatever, but I only have two options for the leader of my nation. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think that if we really got down to it, everybody believes differently. And then, like I said, at the end, right, the top two people would then go after like like primary timing, right? So, or maybe even like August and then November, like if there's like primaries in the beginning of the year, and then like August you do a primary, you know, for all of the candidates, and then the top two move on. And then it's more of a like choice, right? Where like we could all listen to everybody's ideas and maybe we would all open up our mindset a little bit.
And then people would have to answer
and
questions
people would
that
have
they
to,
weren't
yes.
ready for. They weren't.
And it wouldn't just be like, well, they're awful.
Yeah.
Mine's better because theirs is terrible,
Sure.
right? You would actually have to like
Grapple with what's
explain
going
your
on.
position. Where are we coming from? What's the solution? How can we work together on that? You know, like where do we meet?
What do you think could be a topic that could be thrown at you guys in this potential debate? Something about JCPS, maybe?
JCPS for sure. I mean, really like public education in the state overall. I think probably opioid epidemic in Kentucky is a big thing.
Interesting.
I wonder if maybe like recreational marijuana.
That's
I know was a
interesting.
big thing for David Yates, that he sponsored a bill for recreational marijuana. So I was going through and looking at his stuff to see where maybe like
You could pick up
like
on.
where the district and I agreed, right, where they were already going or he was already going.
What do you think of recreational marijuana?
I mean, I think we declassified the wrong, you know, when prohibition ended, it was the wrong thing. Alcohol should have been banned and maybe marijuana should have stayed.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's pretty nonviolent. Obviously would probably need to be regulated like everything else, you know, like, cause you don't want like DUIs and stuff like that. And then you don't want kids getting it too, right?
Sure, and you don't want like a restaurant to have where everybody's smoking
Right,
weed
yeah,
around
yeah,
people who prefer not to have weed.
Right, so it would have to be regulated in some way, but
Maybe
do
in
believe
theory,
there-
the private businesses have their own rules. And
there
you're
are
allowed
worse
to-
things that are legal,
Sure.
in my opinion.
Oh,
There are
yeah.
far worse things that are legal now than they're illegal, right? And I definitely believe that marijuana should not be classified the same as the hardcore stuff.
Okay.
Stuff that really, you know, changes people and affects people's lives.
You mentioned the opioid epidemic. That's
Yeah.
an interesting one. That can go on. That's legal a lot of times.
It is legal most of the time. I was
Most of the time.
gonna say that if we brought it up because, yeah, most of the time it stems from a prescription of some type. My mom's going through surgery right now and she was like, they won't give me pain medicine until I actually have the surgery. And I was like, Mom, that's because so many people, that's how you get addicted.
Sure. Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. I was like, yeah, because you don't want to have to up it, right? After the surgery, you've been taking it anyway. So there's definitely a lot of legal ways to go about being a drug addict. And opioids is definitely one of them. You know, responsible prescriptions, just like, you know, like my mom's got away, you know, like at least there was a doctor that was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So, but then there's, you know, there's a lot of street stuff. There's a lot of prescriptions that are, you know, go to the street. I don't know. We got a lot of issues for sure in Kentucky to tackle. We're less, you know, we're lowest on a lot of things across the nation, education, like employment rates, education. Yeah, we're just really low on a lot of areas. So, I mean, there's, you know, I'm not going to say that I know the answer to every one of them. I'm not the smartest person. I mean, you know, I'm a smart person, but I'm not going to claim that I'm like,
just have this magic pill.
I just already know
Yeah.
everything and I'm going to go into office and be like, yeah, yes, I'm fixing all these things. But I think you have to have the right personality to work with people, the right kind of personality to be able to pick all the stuff up, right? Read the bills, really get out there, telling people about, what the options are, what we're doing, get the feedback. And really being willing to be actually a humble servant, right? And that's kind of the goal. If I were to get elected, is to be the humble servant, but you actually listen to the people in your district, go and vote based on those, and not party lines, not, a bunch of stuff, just trying to do better for our neighborhood, our community, our city, our state.
Great stuff. Wendy Higdon, I will be sure to share the website when you get it up.
Thank you.
So if anyone's watching, of course, Wendy Higdon on Facebook or Kelly Patrick on Facebook. It shouldn't be too hard to find once it's up, right? We'll be sharing.
Yeah, it's up. It's up. Just the donate link isn't.
Okay.
But the website is up, wendy4ky.com. And I've got all kinds of stuff about me and my positions and, voting information, because that's important to me too.
Sure.
That, everybody who can get out there and find it, because it's not a regular election.
Good stuff. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Of course, we will have another episode of the Kelly Patrick Show out soon. Thank you.